I'm so glad personally just to have a chance to slow down the motion amidst the frenzy as we prepare for this last burst of holiday action beginning tonight with Erev Sukkot. I feel like the theme this week at IJS, if you've been sitting with us on Monday and Tuesday, has really been working with impermanence, the fragility and fleeting nature of it all, this theme that Sukkot really lifts up for us in such a powerful and embodied way. And still, how we find joy, even within that awareness. And so I'm going to continue with that theme. So friends, let's just begin by taking our seat together. Your eyes can be open or closed or anywhere in between. And just taking a moment to land. I invite you to take a couple rounds of breath. Allow yourself to simply breathe, to simply be. Each and every time we sit, we give ourselves permission to just sit, not having everything or anything worked out, not even knowing exactly what to do, just like a sukkah, resting gently on the ground. Imagine yourself as a sukkah, resting, aware of your vulnerability. Each one of us on this earth for just a brief moment in time. I invite you to feel the strength in your structure, even as you acknowledge the impermanence of it all. Welcome in the sunlight shining through the schach, the sukkah's roof, along with the shadows that it provides. Welcome in the parts of yourself that are peaceful and luminous, and also the parts that are filled with shadow, darkness, sorrow, fear, despair, and everything in between. As we seal our intention to sit and breathe and heal and practice our wholeness, just take a moment to notice what's arising for you. May our practice today be in service of our individual and collective joy, even amidst the heartbreak. When you're ready, you can open your eyes if you close them. So I'm going to offer a little bit of instruction and framing, and then we'll sit once again for a longer period. So like many of you, and Rabbi Susan Leiter, who led us so beautifully yesterday, I reread Rabbi Alan Liu of blessed memory, his book, This is Real and You Are Completely Unprepared, each year. It's a ritual of sorts that begins around Tisha B'Av and sort of draws to a close as we round out with Simchat Torah. And one of my favorite insights is the connection that he makes between the spiritual thrust of Yom Kippur, which is ethereal and transcendent, and takes us to this almost sort of beyond the body kind of experience, hopefully, by the end of Ne'ilah on Yom Kippur, followed by Sukkot's invitation to get back into the body, to get close again to the earth. And I would love to share some of his exquisite words and reflections with you, which will dovetail nicely on what Susan shared yesterday. So Natalie, if you can bring up that text, perfect. All right. So he writes, "You shall dwell in booths for 7 days," the Torah enjoins us, "so that you will know with every fiber of your being that your ancestors dwelt in booths during their sojourn in the wilderness when they were leaving Egypt. This is a commandment we fulfill not with a gesture or a word, but with our entire body. We sit in the sukkah with our entire body. Only our entire body is capable of knowing what it felt like to leave the burden of Egyptian oppression behind, to let go of it. Egypt in Hebrew is Mitzrayim. The root of this word is tsar, narrowness. Egypt was the narrow place. Only the entire body can know what it felt like to be pushed from place of dire constriction and into a wilderness, a spacious open world. Only the body can know what it felt like to be born. Only the body can know the fullness of joy, and this is a commandment that can only be fulfilled with joy. All the holidays and all their rituals are to be observed with joy, but there is a special joy, an extra measure of joy connected with Sukkot. In the Sukkah, a house that is open to the world, the illusion of protection falls away. And suddenly we are flush with our life, feeling our life, following our life, doing its dance, one step after another. And when we speak of joy here, we're not speaking of fun. Joy is a deep release of the soul. Joy is any feeling fully felt, any experience we give our whole being to, any moment in our life fully inhabited, any feeling fully felt. Any immersion in the full depth of life can be the source of deep joy. And this, in many ways, is what we do in meditation practice each and every time. We get back into the body, we settle into our wholeness using the breath, we come flush with our aliveness by really shining a light on our very being, and we allow ourselves to feel fully. So for our practice today, I found inspiration from a midrash, which many of you may be aware of. It's a classic related to the lulav and etrog, which we will wave through the holiday of Sukkot, which you can see here on the text sheet as well. And this one comes from Vayikra Rabbi. And it says, the spine of the lulav, so the date palm, is like the spine of a person. And the hadass, the myrtle, is like the eye. The leaves are shaped just like little eyes. The arava, the leaves of the willow, is like the mouth. And the etrog is like the heart. King David said from Psalms, "There are none among the limbs greater than these, as they are equal in significance to the entire body. That is what all of my bones will speak to God" means. So the four species, the palm, the myrtle, the willow, the etrog, remind us of the awesomeness of our own bodies. For it's through our bodies, after all, that we have the ability to connect to God, to speak to God, and to be spoken to. And that's what I want to invite us to pay attention to in our practice today. All right, Natalie, thank you so much. So let's practice. Let's take our seats once again. Get as comfortable as you can in this moment. Your eyes can be open or closed or anywhere in between. And I invite you not only to sit, but to truly take your seat. Locating yourself in time and space. Feeling the chair or cushion or ground beneath you. Sensing your belonging to this moment. And as we settle and breathe, come into some greater stillness, we just feel our bodies breathing, feel our bodies being breathed. As you take an initial scan of your heart, your mind, for any difficult emotions which may be hanging around, notice what comes to the front of the line. Take your time. Maybe there's nothing unpleasant lurking in the shadows, no problem. Maybe there's a whole long line of difficult feelings, also no problem. But if there's one particular feeling which tends to get in your way or is getting in the way right now, just take a moment to notice it's here. Allow it to be here. You don't have to chase it away or trick it into non-existence to run away. You can just rest here in the sukha. Maybe even hold it in some self-compassion. Offer it some shade. Explore what it feels like to allow chesed, loving kindness, to flow through your being, to flow through your sukha. Sense that tenderness of being when we drop the judgment. And just breathe into our own essential goodness. Like the midrash about the arba minim, the 4 species, I invite you to bring some loving attention to your spine, your eyes, your mouth, your heart. And as we continue to sit in silence, you might choose to simply bring your breath to those places in the body with deeper awareness and appreciation. You might ask yourself what those 4 parts of the body would say to God, what they're saying to God, or what you imagine God is saying to you through those parts of the body. Or feel free to offer yourself some compassionate or gentle touch or movement. Maybe to allow the spine to stretch, massaging the muscles around your eyes and along your jaw, or lovingly place a hand on your heart. Joy is any feeling fully felt, any experience we give our whole being to, any moment in our life fully inhabited, any feeling fully felt, any immersion in the full depth of life can be the source of deep joy. So we'll sit quietly for the next couple of minutes, and I'll bring us back together with the sound of my voice. ושמחת בחגיך והיית אך שמח ושמחת בחגיך והיית אך שמח ושמחת בחגיך והיית אך שמח ושמחת בחגיך והיית אך שמח. Into our hands and our hearts we place gratitude for the chance to come together to sit and breathe and experience joy and simply feel our feelings and inhabit these bodies exactly as they are. They're portals for connecting with the divine. We affirm the fragility of life, and we also affirm our resilience against the strong winds which threaten to topple us. We acknowledge the forms of protection that we feel, helping us stand strong even in our tenderness. May our practice today continue to reverberate inside of us into the days of Sukkot ahead, reminding us to slow down and to make some space to dwell in our messy and fragile lives, to keep our minds and hearts open to the starlight and the breezes, and to welcome in any angels that show up. May we give ourselves permission to experience joy, and may that joy soften our suffering even just the littlest bit. Thank you. Back to you, Mark.
Amen. 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 Thank you so much, Rabbi Jenny. It's a perfect segue into the Chag for us. And let's seal the practice as we do each time. Those of you who are in mourning or observing a yard site at this season, or if it's your custom to join the Mourners Kaddish, you're invited to do so. Thanks to Natalie, who's holding our text space, for sharing the words on screen. If you're not reciting Kaddish, beautiful opportunity for you to practice showing up and being present for those who are in mourning. And you can put the name or names of those you're honoring today. And I'm going to put my mom's name in here because Sukkot is here at my mother's birth site. And I'm saying Kaddish for her, and invite you to put the name of anyone that you're honoring today in the chat, either now or after we recite Kaddish, and you can rise in body or in spirit with me and unmute it this time if you want to. Git Gadal, Kadash Rabba, Yamad Chayechon, Yomechon, Yom Agavach, Vizman Karim, Shmei Rabba Mevarach, Olam Yishbarach, Yishtabach, Ramam, Itadar, Ela Mikol Birchata B'Shemata Shishbachata V'Netzalata V'Milam Ha'olam Kimru Amen. Chaim V'Yimnatel Kol Yisrael V'Yivru Amen. Shalom V'Ramav
Shalom
Shalom
Amen.
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 And thanks so much for joining us today. And if you're leaving us now, of course, I want to wish you a Chag Sameach, a good and meaningful Sukkot. We will hope to see you when we return next Monday. Yiska Smith will be leading us from Jerusalem next Monday. Go on with Sukkot, the intermediate days of the holiday. And we hope you have a good beginning to the Chag and a Shabbat Shalom. And we'll see you next week. And of course, we hope uh, you can stay on, join us for a conversation with our teacher today, Rabbi Jenny Solomon, about this beautiful, gorgeous teaching and practice today about which gives us really gives us an entree into the possibility of having a Chag Sameach, particularly in such a fraught and challenging time in the Jewish calendar. So if you have a question you'd like to put to Rabbi Jenny, please put in the chat. As always, preface it by writing question all in caps, and I'll keep an eye out for that. And bring Jenny in here. And I feel like I've already had a great Sukkot already, Jenny. Thank you so much.
Oh,
That was, I mean, it goes right to the heart of it, right?
Mm, yeah.
You said so many important and inspiring things that I want to just take them one at a time, starting with, um, uh, the quote from Rabbi Lu, um, which is a perfect excerpt. Number one, the first point being um, dwelling in the sukkah. It's a mitzvah to dwell in the sukkah, which he interprets as it's a full body experience, right? That we
hmm
can't, and I love that he says we can't really know anything except in our body as a people who generally, have lived so much of our existence from the neck up. Whereas, the quote that James Joyce excerpt from Dubliners, where he wrote, Mr. Duffy lived a short distance from his body. We could say, Ms. Apalapia and Mr. Goldberg all lived a short distance from their bodies. So it's really wonderful to reclaim that, say that, okay, first of all, this is really about paying attention to the body. Second of all, and this is really important, that simcha, joy, is not fun. And it's not maybe he didn't use the word fun. It's interesting. I wonder if you considered using the word happy. That joy
Mm,
is not the same as that simcha is not the same as happy.
yeah.
Um, so I want to explore that too with you because he basically says not about necessarily about having a good time, right?
Right.
It's about being alive, just being aware in our
That's,
bodies that we're alive right now,
that's
feeling
right.
every feeling, including grief, fear, anger, all the other things that might come up. And I just think it's such a perfect teaching, especially for this year. Like
Yeah.
Dafka is particularly specifically for this year when we think like, how can you have a holiday that is Mansiv Chatenu, season of our joy, on the anniversary of such, catastrophe?
Right.
Um, and it's basically like, well, it doesn't mean you have to be happy or have fun, right? It just means you have to feel it all, right?
You're
So,
allowed to fully feel. And there's such a, I mean, joy is one way of saying, but there's such a relief
mhm.
in having permission to feel whatever we feel and to do so fully.
Mhm.
It's so much a part of our humanity. And to be able to do that, like even just with the physical references of the sukkah, with sort of with openness above us and um, openness around us. There's just such a spaciousness to the actual physical structure as well as we sit in the sukkah, and then hopefully that translates a little bit into our bodies as well.
Let's go back to the first point. And by the way, I just ran to get my better microphone, so I hope that's better. I didn't realize there
Okay,
was a problem before.
great. I can
So,
hear
better. Okay. The body. What is you're a congregational rabbi? You deal with Jews all the time.
you.
How much of a revelation do you think it is for people generally, this idea that the body matters? As opposed to the idea, the ideas, the intellect. We've so focused, I was kind of being flippant and joking about it, but let's take that seriously for a second. Our first instinct is to, at least our mine, is to intellectualize, make it an abstract thought, right? Try to figure it out, try to solve the puzzle. How can you be happy when you're sad, right? In your mind, in my mind, right? And then say like, there must be some logical way to do that. And this is a completely different paradigm.
Yeah.
Completely different paradigm. We're not figuring anything out. There's no puzzle to solve here. It's just to like turn attention to the body. That
Right.
feels like such a paradigm shift that I, don't want to gloss over that. In your
Yeah.
experience, as a teacher of Judaism and Torah, how does that play out? How do you find people experience that since this very much, so much part of the Torah, of your Torah and how you teach it?
Thank you, Mark. I mean, it's obviously there's a tremendous diversity of experience in terms of those who I teach, but I will just speak for myself. Like it was a revelation to me.
Hmm.
And I think that's part of why become such a centerpiece of my teaching. Um, Whether, and why meditation practice and embodied movement practice, whether it's yoga or walking, like all of these practices just feel like the truest way to access my Torah
Hmm.
and the Torah. And I'm sure I'm picking up obviously on the evolving consciousness that is all around me and all around us. Um, when the first time I read, the body keeps the score, like that just made sense to me.
Hmm.
And the idea that we are not disembodied brains, moving around our lives, but we're whole beings. And that our emotional lives are, of course, our intellect, but our emotional lives, our energetic lives, our physical lives, all of this is a pathway to our
Yeah.
Torah.
Do you find you get pushback about that? People say like, no, no, or like, does it?
I think part of the gift of being in a community for a long time is they get to know you
Hmm. They're like,
and
oh, that's Jenny.
know
That's
what
great.
to expect, right?
Uh-huh.
But I will say, I partner with my partner in life and my partner in work, Eric Solomon, as my co-rabbi, and he certainly is teaches Torah with his body in a very big way, but we share in a very different style, and
Hmm.
I guess part of the growing for me has been a deeper acceptance that there are all different ways into Torah,
Right.
and
Hmm.
this is part of my style. And so I know there are when I just gave a couple of sermons, and I look out in the kehillah and I look at everybody in their seats, and I'm aware that there are some people who will fall asleep to the sound of my voice, and that is okay. And are other people that will feel totally like I'm speaking directly to them.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
how it goes.
Yeah. Well, that's a great approach. That's a great approach. Well, here's, I guess kind of the obvious question that Marilyn is asking. Well, there's another question I'm going to get back to that's more of a practical question about the elements of the lulav and etrog and what they correspond to. But let's stay with this for a moment, where Marilyn says she has the full quote from Alan Lu: "Any moment in her life fully inhabited, any feeling fully felt, any immersion in the full depth of life can be the source of deep joy." And Marilyn asks, how does deep despair bring joy? How does experiencing despair bring
Mhm.
joy? I don't know. So many are struggling with
Of course.
depression slash despair. Um, I mean, we're all hovering around that area in many various degrees. How would you respond to that?
So I guess I want to distinguish numbness
Hmm.
from even the unpleasant experience of some of the harder emotions that life deals us. And perhaps, I guess I said it unintentionally, but perhaps relief might be a substitute for the word joy. Like I know when somebody reminds me that I'm allowed to feel that way, whatever the way is. Like
Hmm.
you're allowed.
Hmm.
There is such a relief in that. If it's a kind of a shameful emotion like
Hmm.
envy or, um, you know, some way that maybe I feel regretful or remorseful, or if it's something that I just feel sad or angry or worried about, the relief of being allowed to feel that
Yes.
fully,
Right.
um, is somehow connected, I guess, to that primitive pipeline of what it is to be joyfully alive. I guess that's the best way I could try to get at it.
I love that. Just I'm going to keep riffing with that. I was thinking about despair. I'm thinking, is despair a feeling? Where I began to think, and I don't know if Marilyn, this resonates with you, but I'm thinking, well, maybe despair is not a feeling per se, but will be an interpretation of feelings. I think like
Mm,
when I am in a state of despair, what are the feelings under that?
mhm.
That give rise to that interpretation. Oh, I'm in despair. I don't have any hope. And for me, I'd say, well, sadness, grief, maybe anger, um,
Hopelessness.
hopelessness. I was going to say that, and powerless. Lack of powerlessness. And if I can apply what you're offering here, what Rabbi Lou's offering to those things, I can feel like I can. Oh, I'm name those, feel them, honor them, and actually, speak for myself. I'll say like I'm a little less despairing. You know,
Yeah,
it may not be like logical, right? But it takes some of the power out of that, and it disconnects that interpretation of all is lost. It's over, right?
that's right. And there's something about the alchemy of that, of being
Hmm.
able to just what happens in the naming and the allowing and the experiencing, which we can do with ourselves. We can also do it with a friend. We can do it with a therapist. We can do it with God.
Hmm.
Um, but how that alchemy of how naming that, being with it in a loving and attentive way allows it to, at the very least, change, if
Yeah.
not lessen or leave, is I actually don't understand that. I just know it to be
Yeah.
true.
Yes. Right. And like as we like to say, test it out in your own experience. We're not telling you what's true for you. So, shift gears for a second. Someone asked the four elements of the lulav, which the classic midrash about different parts of the body. Someone asked if they also correspond to the four worlds, and I'm sure somewhere there is an interpret.
Yeah.
I'm not aware. You happen to be aware? No.
Oh,
Okay. Neither of
I'm
us
not.
are aware. Check it out. Google it.
Yeah.
Check
Or
Safaria. I'm sure.
map it
Go to
out yourself
Safaria.
and share it with
Right.
us.
Ask ChatGPT. I'm sure she knows.
There we go.
Um, but I do want to use this conversation as a little advertisement for Awaken, this program that I mentioned at the outset, which is about the four worlds, which is the physical, the body, the emotional life, the mind, the intellect, and the spirit. And basically says that there's, in a Jewish mystical perspective, the soul inhabits all four of those dimensions and beyond, actually, beyond that dimension. And we all wind up with all five, and Sam Fine-Smith teaches the fifth, and like we'll be in the stratosphere by then. But just to point out that even though the emphasis today is on the body, it doesn't stop there. And like you were saying, like for some people, it's like, well, for me, I find the soul in the intellect. Some people say I find the soul in the emotions. Some people I find the soul in the body. Some people find it in transcending all those things, right? But we have this beautiful tradition that says that the soul is present in all four dimensions, and they can all be portals and gateways for us to enter.
That's right.
Um, yeah, thanks. Okay, so consider joining us for a weekend if
Yeah,
this is resonating with you. All right, we are at time. Jenny, thanks for letting me get that infomercial in.
love it.
And always great to be with you, especially Arab Chag, wishing you and wishing everybody here May it be a chag of joy in the way that we've been talking about today. May you feel everything. May you be present. May you really immerse in it in the sukkah, whether you have a sukkah, whether you can get to a sukkah or not. You can do this practice. Um, Also, want to quickly, if you happen to be on social media, there's a beautiful teaching by our friend Rabbi Jordan Ben Appel about hope and joy in the sukkah as well that I would highly recommend. Thanks to Natalie. Thanks all of you.